So it's official, mi gente. We're pivoting. I love reggaeton. These reggaetoneros, I like them. And I think I need to apply some pressure. There's too much going on in the world to keep prioritizing the points of views of these artists who, not for nothing, said respectfully, aren't saying enough about what's going on. There are ICE raids, there are deportations, there's bombings, and everybody's just ta-ta-ta-ta-ta, my new song. I'm not wired like that. I'm not built like that. We're gonna keep it funky over here, or keep it pushing. So, with that said, as exciting as they may be, I want to make sure some real shit's being said on this podcast. It's my party, and I'll change it if I want to. With that said, I don't know who better I can kick this change off with than Janelle Martinez. Ain't I Latina is a pioneering 11-year-old platform that kicked off the mass conversation of what it means to be Afro-Latina online. Today, there are a bunch of arguments online regarding the word Latinx. Well, guess what? Years ago, there were arguments over the term Hispanic. What's my point? People had to fight for these identifiers that we often take for granted. Janelle is a fighter in regards to Afro-Latinidad, and I'm forever grateful to her. Janelle's an amazing writer, author, pioneer, and curator, and she's my homegirl, y'all. Throughout the years, she opened countless doors for negras, your welcome culture. Ain't I Latina is a question that pushes this convo on who is included in Latinidad, because at the end of the day, we have a race issue. Not we, but lo blanquito. Bueno, Latinidad often excludes Black roots. It's why you see diaspora wars online every 2 days. But one thing I'm excited to get into with her is how she cleverly stays away from stereotypes because, bro, the projection, okay? In 2025, there are arguments online on who should be fighting for who, and I can't wait for y'all to hear the thoughtful, educated takes Janelle has to offer on this. Ella la que sabe. And later on, we have the Códigos by Henao, an amazing Colombian pop artist on the rise. We got into mental health, shrooming, yes, you heard me correctly, and dreams for society. This is Reggaetón Con La Gata, new and improved. Vamos pa' allá.
Thank you so much. First of all, really appreciate that warm introduction. I'm so appreciative of the space, and also, love what you're doing. And I really appreciate, that you have created this space for us. So thank you.
Janelle, first and foremost, how does it feel to have cultivated such a space? Looking back 11 years, that is a legacy. Talk to me a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I feel like I'm always reflecting, and I love the fact that there's been so much evolution in the conversation around, of course, Afro-Latinidad, but more specifically the level of representation and spaces for Black Latinas. And for me, even though it's always interesting to hear the term pioneer or groundbreaker or things like that, because I truly feel like I am a part of not only a continuum. So I think about the work of, Miriam Jimenez Roman and Yvette Modestine and Dr. Marta Moreno Vega. And then, of course, all of the amazing next generation, the fact that these conversations, are being sustained, is really beautiful to see. And so though I, appreciate the flowers, and I appreciate, even just the fact that I have gotten this opportunity and that people have trusted me to tell their stories, right? People do not have to speak to me at any point. But the fact that even when I launched Ain't I Latina, the number of Black Latinas that have from jump supported me, that trusted me to tell their story, that have just been a cheerleader of mine all of these years, has been really beautiful, So thank you for the flowers and thank you for supporting me. And, you know, I think that we're all just like in this collective, and community has been so important in that.
Absolutely. And girl, you much too modest. You did that. You did. And so, you know, thinking of Ain't I Latina, you know, it's a question, right? Ain't I Latina? Mm-hmm. Talk to me about like that concept in and of itself. Like, where was that born out of? You know, like, has it been answered, you know, generations later? I'll keep my response very short, but like, the reason why I even asked this question is because I look around online and I'm like, okay, if you don't know by 2025 that Afro-Latinas exist, that's a you problem. Because there's too much work out there. You know, people are repeating rhetoric at this point. So like, I won't yap too much. I'm dying to know your POV on this.
Yeah, so this is such an important question because I don't feel like I get this often. I don't know if the word is like sort of double entendre or like dual meaning, but I'll say Ain't I Latina was born out of just my lived experience. So even though I didn't have the name, I didn't always have the language, but the fact that growing up, it was very important. First, I gotta always shout out my mom. You know, she's my introduction to Black womanhood, and more specifically, you know, being a Black concern, being Garifuna. And so I had always had this sort of consciousness, but I didn't always have the language. I feel like I was very blessed to be able to be an African American Studies minor in my undergrad journey, which really opened doors for me. This is at the time where I actually came across the term Afro-Latina. Is literally, I had the opportunity to study abroad in an African American Studies program in Paris, and we were meeting like Black Brazilians and Black Parisians, and like it was just so much transfer of information, but also at the end of the day, everybody was Black and from different places. And so it really got me thinking about like, oh, it's not like Blackness is not a monolith. Latinidad is, though commercialized and packaged as a monolith, is not that. And so really the fact that my scholarship and my work has always been rooted in Blackness and specifically Black womanhood, what better way for me, when I was thinking about names, it really like kind of like on some divine stuff came to me. I thought about Sojourner Truth's very well-known speech, Ain't I a Woman? And then I thought to myself, like, I always had been questioning about my identity. This is a platform specifically for Black girls, women, you know, of Latin American descent. Ain't I Latina? And so for me, it was like kind of a homage, if you will, to Black women who have really been the reason why I'm here today. Black scholarship, but then with a sort of nuancedness, if you will, in speaking to like Latina identity. So yeah, that's actually this is probably the most I've even discussed the name, but that's where it comes from. So like that dual meaning of course being a question, but also a recognition of Black scholarship, Black, you know, feminism and all of that. And has the question been essentially answered today? Absolutely not. And sometimes I try to give grace depending on age, right? Like I don't expect a preteen, a teen to fully have the language, but when, you know, in the digital space, for example, which is a space that, you know, many of us occupy and, you know, share ideas, the fact that like today people will kind of like throw out like Afro-Latina in like a way of questioning, like, what are you saying? Like it's a made up thing, or like not understanding the definition, or even when we see celebrities like a Cardi B or, and I'm gonna just stick with her in particular. It's so fascinating to me that people question to this day her identity. We have all seen her parents. We have all seen her speaking and seamlessly transitioning between Spanish and English, but yet she, in putting it all out there, a level of people not even willing to see her as a Black woman is just so alarming to me. And so I think this question, has it been answered? No. Do I think we'll see it answered in our lifetime? No, I don't think so, even though I would love to say that it is. I just feel like people are so kind of locked into what they feel they know. And if they're not willing to stretch that or learn, which I find even in the digital space, as many resources that are at their disposal, they may not, lean into it. But there are others that do and get it. And I think that's where I love to keep my concentration on. But sadly, there's so many that don't.
As I say, yo me quité. Like, I feel you, because like after a certain point, you just gotta disconnect for your own mental health as a Black girl, because it's like some people are dedicated to the madness, and like we can't live there if we're gonna live full, happy, healthy lives. So I feel you. And I super appreciate the Cardi example. For those listening, they're both from the Bronx, like
yes,
from the Bronx, Hondureña, Gariganu, right?
Garifuna. Yes, Garifuna. Got it, yes.
Garifuna. And so, people be playing big games with Cardi, like, there's just some people who are going to be dedicated to that, and we just got to leave them where they are. Like, absolutely, yeah. And so I super love, where you went with this, because it feeds right into where I'm headed next. Being online is a little bit insufferable, and by little, I mean a lot. Because there's just like a lot of revisionist history. People are acting like things don't exist. Like it's never been discussed before, like things never happened. I saw this girl today, like posted on Threads, like, what if Latinos say that they don't want to support when George Floyd died? I'm like, they did that. Like, what are you talking about?
Right. Girl? Like, what?
I wrote a whole article. I linked myself, but I was like, what? ¿De dónde? ¿Qué hueco estaba metida tú? So, like, it's the cognitive dissonance for me. And so, to ask a direct question, today in the administration, there are ICE raids all over the country that are particularly escalated due to the egregious violations and instruction of this president. And it's been very odd hearing like the revisionist history takes regarding Black and Brown solidarity. Tell me, as a Black woman, what is your take?
Yeah, it's actually really sad to me, because I feel like what's happening with this like revisionist, activity, and then also like a lack of trying to even be aware of the issue at hand, and like why this is such an important time for not only community but like coalition building, is the fact that from a historical lens, we have always been in unison, right? Like Black folk, Latinos of all backgrounds. And so for me, it really is sad to see, because the attention is not being directed in the right manner. Because while people are so caught up in you didn't do enough or you didn't show up, which again, as we know, are all lies, lives are actually being impacted. People are being snatched up. People are being separated from their family. People are they're not getting the resources that they need. And so I feel like, though the digital space is so powerful, and I love when I actually see people such as yourself bringing the facts and the information and the resources, there are also sadly just as many people that are focused on the wrong things and taking that energy. Because at the end of the day, we know like we need to all be focused on this at the end of the day, because for one, as Black people, we're all going to be impacted. Like, that's why I never understand. I don't get it, because it's like, they come for, like, I forget the quote, which is horrible. No, this is, I think, Toni Morrison. Fact check me if I'm wrong. If they come for you at night, they'll come for you if they come for them at night, they'll come for you in the morning. And I definitely think that is what we're seeing. These ICE raids, obviously, because of this administration, we are seeing more and more of it. But obviously, we have been seeing this for some time. This is not a new thing. And even with that, we have, organizations, I think of Baji, and let me make sure I say, so it's the Black Alliance for Just Immigration. We see a number of organizations that are really centered around Black immigration, but it's not just, it is Black folks, but it's also, this is an issue that affects everyone. And let's be real, it's the most marginalized is not able to receive the access or is not free, then nobody is going to get free. And so I just feel like these conversations are just really disheartening to see happen in real time while people are actually on the front lines or doing whatever work to support what's happening and others are being affected. What is this conversation doing at the end of the day?
Thank you there. Mm-hmm. I mean, perfectly said. You said it all. You said all that there is to be said, because it's like, people are just, what I'm stuck on is the part where you said is obviously lies, because that's literally what it is, Yeah. Whether people are just now paying attention or not is a different thing. They need to come to terms with that. Pero saying that we're on opposite sides and all this and that. And then I'm also sticking on, not for nothing, laughing because I said brown in quotes. He was like, Latinos of all backgrounds. Doesn't brown make you cringe? Like, it makes me cringe. I'll be honest with you. I know some people identify that way, and duela que le duela, like, I said what I said, but it's very awkward because, first of all, it is in girls, right here. But like, okay, but then other, like, mostly Mexican are saying like, oh, okay, we're brown, and I'm just like, okay, you were in the sun, I get it, you're brown, I suppose, but like, this is corny. Because it's like, it's another way for us to differentiate ourselves. Because why? Because you need to be over there and I need to be over here because we're both not brown. Because you're brown, my brown. It's very freaking weird. So
it is. And there's actually indigenous, and what kills me, there is indigenous.
You're indigenous.
Folks that, absolutely. And that's for a long time, I felt like I couldn't even claim that because of the way that indigeneity specifically in the U.S. context was framed. And the crazy thing is, like, and we both know, we know Mexicans who are actually brown. That's another thing. Because I feel like when brown is sort of like this sort of mythical, I hate to frame it this way, but like it's mythical brownness. Like, there's people who identify as brown who are not brown, as you know. And it's just like, exactly.
For 10 minutes.
Right. And so, exactly. And it's like, if you can do that, if you can literally do that, this conversation, that identifier is not for you. Whereas they actually know, and I'm sure they know, actual brown people. And then to your point, we are Black women and we are brown. In that sense, it's like, I think that sometimes people, it's sort of like this, I don't know if it's a ranking of oppression or if it's like they want to identify as other than what their racial category is because of this sort of narrative they feel like they need to exist within. But it is problematic. And I also think, hopefully I'm not jumping the gun, but when I was talking about like coalition building, why this is so important in these conversations and really knowing your history is because I might be going in circles, but I recently had seen a very powerful documentary, actually directed by a Black Latina. Her name is Cisa Bueno, and it's for Venida for Khalif. And folks may not be familiar with the story of Khalif Browder, but essentially he is no longer with us, and Venida is no longer with us as well. And it really is because of the injustices within the prison system in the United States in particular. But where I'm going with this is that I found it so powerful because the way that she connected this point of injustice, the injustice happening and, the criminalization of Black people, is that she used the example of this, it's a pretty well-known resistance that happened in New York City in the 1970s at the Tombs, which is a prison that used to exist in Manhattan. And actually, what a big part of that is that the young lords were, involved in it because there was a death of a young lords member, Julio Roldan. But also what people don't realize is that the Black Panthers were a part of this, and there was a Black Panther 21. And so there's like, when I think about that, like, we're all in this fight together, I always go back to specifically the young lords who were inspired by the Black Panther Party. They would not exist if the Black Panther Party were not in existence, but they also were not in a way where, oh, you do this, you do that. If they needed to like join forces to get things done, they did that. And we see that throughout the history of both organizations, so much so that, some members were in both. I think about Denise Oliver Velez, who was both a Young Lord member and a Black Panther Party member. So I think that people have to really know their history. You know what I'm saying? And I understand that at a certain point in people's lives, I didn't learn all of this. We didn't learn all of this in, when we were young or when we were kids. But I think that you get to a level in your life where you have access to more. And if you are a person that has access and you know someone that doesn't have access, you can then inform and let them know about certain things. And I think the digital space sort of does that for us, right? Like, you're constantly seeing information, and of course, fact check, but definitely you see this information. And I think it's like, we have to really know our history at the end of the day, and especially in a time like this where we know that they're trying to prevent, there's book bans. They're also trying to literally take books from, spaces where they should not be removed. And so I definitely feel like that history part is really important.
Oh my God, Janelle, she is saying the things. We'll be right back with more after these messages. Don't move, no te muevas.
It's so refreshing, honestly, to be speaking with another fellow writer, because I know you feel me when I say that it's a little crazy right now, seeing how, especially on, not for nothing, TikTok. I know I say it a lot, but it's like the way that I be seeing viral videos, and I'm like, that's not even correct. And it's like, and then it's like, people Google it, they go on a website, they're not thinking, okay, it's on a website, it must be true. It's like, no, verify it. Is it on a verifiable source? A verifiable source is likely to not a news station or another writer, someone who takes ethics seriously. Because guess what? You can get sued for spreading things that are not correct, because that quickly gets into the ballpark of slander and things of that nature. But, the everyday influencers is not thinking about that. They just want to get their... And it's like, I need us to pause, because, not for nothing. And another thing we share in common is we both came up on Twitter.
Yes. Oh my goodness.
Not X.
Yes, not X. Not X.
I was literally the last generation of Twitter, and you experienced this before me, to be going to CultureCon to do the panels, to speak on how we built our platform, and how we built our following, and our metrics were out such a time. Our metrics were like... I
missed that time. And that was a time...
Oh, bad, girl.
Because we were creating, and this is so... I love that you introduced... Yes, exactly. I love that you introduced Twitter, because we were digitally archiving, right? These were conversations. And for me, I often think about Black Twitter in the different ways of Black Twitter. And even when we think about Black Twitter was a space where you knew there was layers to it. That alone wasn't even a monolith. You knew that in Black Twitter you were going to see discourse around Caribbeanness, Latinidad, what it was like to be Black in Europe. Like, it was just so rich of a conversation, and it saddens me. I feel like I keep saying that, but it's so sad, because it's like, I often think about what happens when someone does want to use a digital source. Maybe they see it on X, now, quotes. What does that look like when we were openly exchanging ideas? We also didn't always agree with one another. And that's why I'm also like, when I think of, and I don't want to get too deep into like diaspora wars, but we knew how to introduce a conversation and not agree, but at the end of it, it was what it was. You know what I'm saying? I feel like the ways in which people are even pointing out information or arguing is like next level, and it's concerning, you know, and TikTok is a space that like I'm not super, you know, delved into, but from what I do see, I will say that like to what you just said, like I'm concerned about some of the misinformation, you know, and I do know that there are some like there's brilliant work happening there. But again, we know how algorithms work, right? And so if you're constantly looking at the same misinformation, you're getting served more of that. So what does that do to the information that you're consuming and what you then take from that? Like it's concerning.
I want to turn it to reggaeton. So
yes,
I would be remiss if I didn't include reggaeton here in this reggaeton podcast. Mi amor, what's your relationship with reggaeton? Never mind mine. What's your relationship with reggaeton? Who do you listen to? What are your hot takes? What's it been like for you?
Yeah. This is like the first time being asked this. I think it's important for me to note that like I feel like I came up in the 90s, you know, still very young, but then, you know, as I came of age and then early 2000s, for me, especially being, you know, born, raised, still residing in the Bronx, like music is so big. And so I feel like when I was like preteen and a teenager, for me, like reggaeton was huge. And like just as I was listening to like a Little Kim or, you know, DMX or Ja Rule, or I can go on and I'm probably dating myself, definitely like Evie Queen. I was just listening to, it's so funny, El Teléfono, because for me, I'm very like nostalgic, like, and I think at this time I just want to feel how I felt when I was like a teenager, because I feel like even though, let me not curse, things were wild in their own sense at that time, it was a better time for me because I was young, you know, we were having fun. If somebody was having a party, you know what I'm saying? Like you knew that you were gonna like hear like listening Janelle, Daddy Yankee. So for me, it was like I still to this day, and this is my playlist is very like, maybe I'm very much a tia here, because my playlist, you would think that like I'm still stuck in the 90s or early 2000s. That's just like what I'm really listening to. And I think, yeah, like I think a part of it is just the nostalgia, like especially at this time, it's like I'm looking to my playlist as a form of comfort. Have I listened to, you know, what's circulating now or like what's trending based off of, you know, things that have been done? Yes, to a certain degree, but like I think at my base and at my core, like if somebody was to go through, you know, my Spotify listening history, they're gonna see like a lot of like that time period in the mid to late 90s or really early 2000s.
Yeah. Vieja escuela, mi gente. Girl, I'm right there with you. It's why I got Perra 101 turned into a party, and it's like,
yes,
and yeah.
And I have gone and I have like been like, oh, what a space.
Yeah. We back in the Bronx. Actually, yes, we will talk after. We'll talk after.
Yeah.
And to wrap this all up, there of course is a legacy of blanqueamiento. As a person in the culture, what has been difficult for you to witness in the context of reggaeton, and what do you want more of?
I think that I would love to see more of an acknowledgement, right? In the sense that like when we think of reggaeton and we think of like music genres in general started by Black folks, why hasn't there been like a sort of earnest, very intentional saying of like, this is started by Black people. And I'm not saying, because you've been doing that work. You've been saying and reminding artists who I think that oftentimes want to step into their careers and act like Black people had no involvement in it, unless a Black person is there to be a form of pouring into their career, whether that's a producer, whether that's whatever the case may be. Then it's like there's a level of acknowledgement, maybe not even in terms of like a race, but like just like you're supporting my career, so boom. So for me, I would love to see like just an honest, hey, I know we didn't start this, but this is coming from a space of appreciation. And when I do have the opportunity to genuinely put someone on, and not even, they should create the opportunity, right? Like, let me not even phrase it like when they have the opportunity. You have the opportunity. Please do that work. Because as a listener, I'm getting the product. But as an artist, you're doing, and you and your team have so many steps, and you can put people in position, Black people in positions to win. And I want to see more of that acknowledgement. And I want to also say that, like, your work, right? You make sure that we know that information, and you make sure that artists know, hey, you're stepping not just your toe, you jumping in, acting like, this is possibly something that this is an accent that you've always had, or whatever the case may be. So for me, it's like, I just wish that there was more like honesty around that, and more and not like shock when there's like sort of like an outrage of like, oh, like, did I do something wrong, or dismissal, or not even acknowledging. Like, stuff like that is problematic. And so I think that's what I would love to see more of, and more accountability, more putting Black people in positions and platforming Black people as just like a few things. There's so much more, but this says a few things.
Mi gente, you heard it from La Jefa herself, Janelle Martinez of Ain't I Latina, and many beautiful things to come. Mi amor, thank you so much for compartiendo conmigo.
Thank you so much.
This was lovely. Mi gente, make sure to follow Ain't I Latina everywhere. Janelle Martinez everywhere. She's an author. Like, go buy her book. Like, go.
Oh my God, it's so nice to speak with another negra who gets it. Ella me entiende. There's so much I'm taking away from our convo, including being a Black girl in Latin media professionally isn't for the weak. There are certain things that we go through that doesn't occur to non-Black people. Por ejemplo, being put in positions to have to prove Latinidad. Although any self-respecting negra doesn't engage with that bullshit, that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen nonetheless. Amnesia. Yes, amnesia. Ay, como la gente se lo olvide. People repeat the exact same rhetoric that we take time cultivating, and then media has a bad track record overall crediting people correctly. This is why I want to shout out the Black Music Library by my girl Jensia, because it's one of the best sources online for Black contributions towards the diaspora by all people. But they have a system for highlighting which came from negras. I live. Janelle is such a gem, bringing up Cardi. Two Bronx girls, all that energy. What it took for Janelle to create that platform. The way that she cultivates community is really a masterclass. I personally learned from her the concepts of stand in the gap, pass the mic, take up space, and even the word no, aka setting boundaries, so that we can grow and protect ourselves. There's so many things that we need to know how to do and well in order to exist, and even that bothers people. If there's anything I want you to take away from this convo, it's that contemporary legacy media matters. That people created platforms before the viral TikToker who make scripts from blog entries that they read online that allows them to even exist. Also, that TikTok needs a crediting system. I might be a little bitter, but I also don't care. And the context of today, take heed of this conversation regarding telling Black women what we should and shouldn't do, especially during these times, instead of asking Blanquitos, what change behaviors will they now engage in to prove themselves? Because yes, you have to. Janelle Martinez has graced this plane with so much breathtaking work, and she's nowhere near finished. I can't wait to see what she does next. Get into her, get into Ain't I Latina, show them some love, and tell them I sent y'all.
Dime a ver, gente linda, you know what time it is. It's time for Los Códigos. And today's Código is with Henao, an amazing Colombian pop star on the rise, de la mía personal. Let's get into it.
If you could tell younger you, if you could give younger you advice on like how to like better take care of yourself, what would that look like?
I would, oh my God, yeah, I would definitely say like, don't believe in some of the things that people tell you, because I think I would take it so
With like weight
on it.
Yeah.
So much weight, and I would let it affect me so hard. And I would let people affect me. And I unfortunately had been in very toxic relationships way before I was in music. Like I had like this whole chapter of my life that a lot of people don't know. And it's really crazy because like if I could go back and talk to her, I'd be like, yo, like do not let anybody tell you anything otherwise. Believe in who you are and what your purpose is, and not let anybody dictate that, because you know you do come across people that unfortunately, like whether you mean well and you want to do good, they take advantage of that niceness and they manipulate you and they use it to their advantage. And that was my case at the very beginning. And now, like, you know, sometimes in life you have to go through certain rough patches, so that way it could mold you and put you in a position where, who knows, maybe that needed to happen. So when I tapped into this industry, I was not gonna take bullshit from anybody, you know. And I sometimes try to not overthink too much on like, oh well, why did I have to go through that? But maybe that needed to happen in order for me to like prepare myself for what was yet to come, and it's only just gonna make you stronger, you know. It's shit as it sounds.
You know, it's true.
It's the truth, you know. Like, so I am grateful for those terrible moments, and it's definitely helped me navigate, you know. So yeah.
I appreciate that. I resonate with so much of that.
Yeah.
I've been taking a lot of that advice myself lately. I'm like, tú sabes que, like, what's meant for me is for me. You know, no one knows what it's like to be in my shoes. I can have all the goodwill that I want and can want for others as much as I want to, but at the end of the day, lo que me aman, y lo que, the ones who don't want to like me, because that's been a big, you know, as a public figure myself, like, that's been one of the biggest eye-openers myself, like, oh, some people really don't like me. That's like really odd. Like, you know, it's just pretending. It's just pretending of like, you know, they're around, you know, but they don't really like me. Like that was a big, honestly, eye-opener for me this past like couple months myself. I'm like, you know, you really don't deserve to be around me. And like that whole like idea.
Knowing your worth.
Yes, because it really is a privilege. Like it's not que yo me creo Beyonce. Like I don't have to be Beyonce. Like I mean, you know, and like igual que yo respeto a otros, me tienen que respetar a mí también. So I appreciate that. I really do.
Not everyone's gonna like us, you know, but and you have to be okay with that.
And that's okay, right? Exactly. I'm great with that now. Yeah. I'm great with that now. Going to something a little lighter. Your music, the artistry that you have. I would like for you to really pick on one of the songs in your repertoire that you feel best speaks to who you are. Like, what's that one? You know, everyone has that one song. What is that one song for you, and why? Go off.
Okay. I definitely have to say Distance, and that hasn't come out yet.
Aww.
It's gonna come out November 1st. And I feel like it's just a merge of Houston and Medellin, you know? Like I grew up listening to a lot of R&B and hip hop in the 2000s, you know, like I went to minority schools and like I was around a lot of culture, a lot of, you know, whether it was like the Mexican culture, the African American culture. So it really influenced a lot of who I am as a person, you know, growing up and listening to all this music. And then, you know, eventually as you go into different chapters, you know, like I said, when I went to college, I was near Austin, so I got introduced to this whole indie world, and then dance music, and then, you know, Colombia's always been like, you know, vallenato, salsa, todo eso, so that like literally has been part of my life from the very beginning. But What I was very excited about Distance and working on this project is because when I worked with Derby, who's the producer on it, like he's mostly done reggaeton, and he's been working more, but working with me, he's been able to tap into something different, and he has a huge appreciation for hip hop culture and whatnot, and I feel like with me, he's been able to kind of like just expand his like horizon. So I told him I really want to do like a trap R&B, like I want to make it like give it some little bit of Houston, not too much. We're not trying to add all that Houston, kind of vibe, but like let's add a little elements here and there that will be a good representation of what I grew up in, and then also adding that line flair to it. So for me, it's like one of the most like favorite songs because of the way it makes me feel, how it starts. It's very euphoric, which is very much what I am, and that very like como ese mood bien melancólica, all these melodies, and make you want to float somewhere, and then you come in with a bang because the song transitions over and you're just like, whoa, I wasn't expecting it, so it's really
we gotta switch up.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. And there is I think if I'm not mistaken, it's this artist called Jamila Berry.
Okay.
I don't remember exactly where she's from. I want to say she's from the UK, but she did a song that I really, really liked and that's what inspired me to do that transition, because there's a song where she's just singing and it's just her voice and she just takes you somewhere, and then all of a sudden it hits you with like I don't know if it was like trap, but like it goes into like a hip hop, and you would have never expected that transition. And I was like, I want to do something like that. So I put that song on my inspiration playlist, and I was like, we're gonna tap into these transitions. Some people don't necessarily like too much transitions because sometimes they want to get straight to the song, and that's like the people who like to consume music a little bit differently, like más rapidito, más como que I just want to get to the point. If you really just sit there and listen to the song, you're just like, oh, it takes you somewhere, And yeah, like I'm really excited about that song, and I feel like it's a good representation. I actually, before I came to Miami, we did some content and shot around Houston. Like I actually wanted to shoot in my neighborhood where I grew up. So we did some content around there and things like that. So yeah, I'm excited for when it comes out. We'll see what happens.
I'm excited for it.
Thank you.
And I'm glad that you have that one. I feel like every artist has that one that like really speaks to them and like best represents and reflects like who they are, who they want other people to like really consume them as. So like, good for you.
Yeah, no, and honestly, like don't get me wrong, a lot of these songs have some sort of connection
of course,
to me.
Yeah.
But I feel like this one in particular, I've always wanted to merge both worlds, and I think I will continue to explore that a little bit more, and maybe at some point have some like features on there or some really dope collaborations with like artists from Houston. Who knows what will happen in the future, but I really want to tap into that where it's like creating something different, and I know that not a lot of artists, because not that I personally know, pero no hay otra colombiana de Houston que está haciendo música en este momento. Yo soy la única, entonces, like I really want to tap into that. Why not?
You better own it.
Yeah.
I'm really thinking about, I'm in the ballpark of like, women, how we, express ourselves, like how we look, how we use our bodies, how we don't. What does all that mean to you in regards to like owning your body, your sexual prowess? Like, what does that look like for you?
It's definitely been challenging. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I think like what is Vanessa as myself, I have a very shy tendency to be very like, oh, I'm very like, this and that. But when I tap into it now, it's like that's kind of like the alter ego of like where I own it, And sometimes you have to, yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's like almost like you tap into this other side of you that, I've always been very shy in that aspect. But like I feel like when I try to tap into this character, like I really want to use it to my advantage. It's like it's part of who I am, and like. I mean, for as much as like, if people like the astrological things or whatever, like, they did say like, someone did explain this to me, like, depending on like where your Venus is, like it will be a huge representation of like how you, what your type of beauty is, and like using your image and who you are. And like my Venus is in Taurus, so it's like those kind of things of like, okay, like that's what will go really well with your career if you really tap into that. So I'm like, okay, like for what it's worth, I'm like, you can take that with a grain of salt, but like I felt like maybe there is a sign there, like, like if God gave me this, glowiness or whatever that looks like to anyone, like I want to be able to release that and show people. And like, I don't know, like, I guess my perfect example of what that is like, I want to be able to inspire confidence more than anything, because like I remember when I was little and I would see Selena Quintanilla perform and things, like she inspired me to be an artist, you know what I mean? And I loved her confidence and I love her beauty, and I'm like, I want to be a representation of what that is and how it makes other people feel. Like, oh, like I want to be just like her, I want to be confident like her, like I want people to really embrace that. And I know that doesn't come very easily to a lot, and I always say the same thing, I have not always been the most confident person either, but with time, like you learn how to really embrace yourself as a person, and I think that's a very beautiful thing.
I love that. I'm the type of person that I know I'm an Aries.
Fire.
I don't know the Venus, the Saturn, the Pluto. You know what I'm saying?
I've had a lot of people so that's why I was like, I have a lot of very spiritual people in my world.
I'm spiritual too. I don't know. I need a map. I need like Snapchat has a really good like part of the app that actually you can swipe and it tells you everything. Yeah. And every time someone brings it up, I'm like, okay, let me see my phone. Apparently, I'm in Pisces. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I'm very
which Pisces are very spiritual.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, so that makes sense.
I know I'm fire, water, and then like, okay, de ahí, yo no sé. Pero, como quiera, still resonating with everything you just said. I appreciate that. Yes, girl, give them confidence. The girls need confidence. The girls need, someone to look up to who's positive and like who's being authentically themselves. So thank you. Appreciate that.
I try my best.
That's all the time that we have today. Aquí en Reggaetón Con La Gata, con la belleza de
Henao.
Hasta la próxima. Chao.
Oi, you guys know what time it is. It's time for some rapidito. I'm excited to hear from one of y'all. Let's get right into it.
¿Qué sopa, gente linda? Soy Gata Todavita Favorita. Estamos en Reggaetón Con La Gata, past the mic. I'm super excited because I'm here con una matatana Afro-Boricua de la mía personal, Agent DMZ, who's an amazing Afro-Boricua DJ, activist, y una de la comunidad allá en Puerto Rico, también en Nueva York. My love, thank you so much for being here. I will pass the mic to you. Tell me what is going on right now. I believe that there was an incident that correlated with the Puerto Rican Day Parade and the festivities afterwards. El pueblo tiene que escuchar esto de ti. Te lo paso.
Bueno, first I want to say thank you so much, Gata, for having me. I really appreciate it. Thank you for opening, your platform for me to speak up and so people know what's going on. Not only in New York, but it's happening everywhere. As you can see, it's happening in LA. It's happening everywhere. It doesn't matter if you're a migrant. It doesn't matter if you're Black. It doesn't matter if you're white. It's happening everywhere. And I feel like it is important for us to like really speak up and not, do what we are, like what we can do, because not everything has to be you speaking out, going to protest, but, just like commenting or reposting something or talking to your family or talking to your friends and having conversations about, what's going on. It's very important, I think, right now. So as you were saying, like, yeah, something very unfortunate happened. After a week of amazing experiences, like como decimos en familia, tú sabes, todo el mundo no nos conocíamos, we just probably met each other, pero como que todo el mundo está en familia. Like it started on Friday, the events were going on. There was actually a lot of events happening. I think it was really great for New York, especially, just having so many events, the kickoff of summer as well. So everything happened. We were all at Mood Ring. It's an annual thing. Everybody knows about this. It's something that you're expected to go to. Si tú eres boricua, tú vas a estar en Mood Ring, tú vas a estar en Bossa Nova. Ya tú sabes. Like, it's a pit stop for everybody. It's for people to come after the parades to just come and hang out, drink, just have fun. So it happened like around 12:30. We were doing a bombazo. Estaban los chicos de Hupi. And as well as people de Puerto Rico that flew in to be here for this time to either they had performances or they were participating in other things, because a lot of us try to bring the diaspora and the Puerto Ricans and La Isla together. And I feel like finally it's kind of like it's really a lot more than it was before, and it's really beautiful. So we were all like, dancing bomba, because that's not something that we get to have that experience, especially here in New York, out in the streets, like just living our lives, just being joyous and like being happy, with each other and en familia, como yo dije. Y empezamos a cantar, and then somebody started dancing. And when people started dancing, I don't know who woke up the ancestors, the evil ancestors. I don't know. But they just came towards us. Like it was like somebody was shooting or we were fighting. And none of that was happening.
Who was they?
The cops. The 83rd precinct. Sorry. Yes, 83rd precinct. Vengo pa tus culitos. So yes, the POs, the police officers at 83rd precinct, and to my understanding, they had people from other precincts as well. Not sure, but we're going to focus on 83rd precinct because they are the ones who are involved in this and need to be held accountable.
So in other words, essentially, I'm so sorry. So they were roughing people up. Did anyone get arrested? What happened?
Yes. So we are there. They come towards us. It was like a millisecond. Like literally, I felt like one moment I was like thinking in my head because I had a moment, a reflection to myself. And I was like, wow, this is like a beautiful moment. Like nobody's fighting. Everybody's here having fun. Like how sometimes you go to the club, people bump into you and they're mad rude. It wasn't even like that. Like people are like, oh, I'm sorry. Let me go through. Like, hey, can I help you? You want a drink? What you want? Like it was mad cute. So they come in swarming and they kind of cattle us. Like they were like, we were herd, sort of like we were just animals, and they come around us and they pin us to the wall towards mood ring, yelling at us. They come in yelling at us, telling us, you need to disperse, you need to disperse, you need to leave, you need to leave. Mind you, they are literally not allowing us to leave because the whole purpose was to get bodies. They wanted to arrest people. They wanted to rough us up. That was the whole purpose, because if you're a cop and that's a noise complaint, because apparently it was a noise complaint, that's not the reaction. And as a social worker, I've dealt with people with mental health issues. I've dealt with people with like disorderly conduct. Like I've dealt with a whole bunch of situations. And for them to come in there without even going into the venue, hey, what's going on? Like, can you guys tell the people that they can't be outside like that? They can't be congregant, whatever the case may be. But to come in and like start screaming at us, or they could have been like, oh, what is this? Is this bomba? This looks like fun. I'm sorry that you guys, but like this is this is a hazard having you on the side. I don't know, something like to de-escalate the situation, not come in and start shoving you and shoving us and pushing us towards the wall where it could have been a more serious situation.
With this new administration, there are, across the board, just plain old harassment that's going on across the board with just Black people, people of color, just simply existing. Breathing gets white supremacists upset. And this is just like a pure example of that. So I'm very sorry that this happened. And Pueblo, for those of you who are listening, this, of course, should not go without any sort of consequence or response. Let's pay attention to this. Let's follow up. Let's keep up with this. And let's hold for accountability, because without that, it'll continue to happen and people will get off scot-free. Mi amor sote, if you had any sort of message for those who were affected or for those who are tuning in and want to help with this, what would that be?
I will say, if anybody wants to help out, I know HUPE.USA is collecting funds for all the victims that were injured, as well as legal assistance. So if y'all want to give money towards that, $1, $5 helps anything. Because I know my best friend was actually one of the ones that was arrested, and they're literally trying to give her resisting arrest and punching an officer. When they were like, there's literal video of them pushing her towards the wall, and she's trying to get away. She is as well a domestic violence survivor, so that was very triggering for her, and for them to do that was unnecessary because they don't know who is in there. Like, they could have really mitigated that situation. They could have given us summons, they could have given us tickets, They could have done all other things except beat us. They wanted to beat us, because when I looked in their eyes and I spoke to one of the cops calmly, because I know, I've been in training and things like that. Y yo le hablé bien calmado. Y yo le dije, mira, why are you doing this? Like, I'm not trying to hurt you. Like, I want to leave too. I don't want to be here with you either. Let me leave. And they just kept pushing us towards, and they tried to grab my hand, one of them, because they were just trying to get bodies. They were trying to detain people. And they grabbed my hand, and I went like that. And one of the police officers held my hand here, and I have a bruise here. Que tomé una fotito, que vengo pa'l culito for 83rd prison. Ya se lo dije. Yeah, so like, it's ridiculous. Like,
it's giving, I need to reach my quota.
Yeah, like, not even my dad put his hands on me. Not even my father. Like, un pendejo de esto viene a poner mis manos. I'm fucking 42 years old. Nobody's ever put their hands on me. And these motherfuckers are gonna come put their hands on me? No.
Mi gente, thank you so much for tapping in. This was Pastor Mike with Agent DMZ. Make sure to follow Agent DMZ and Perreo to the People. La Gata and Agent DMZ, over and out.
Oli, tan tan kilan tan tan.
Y ahora para las flores. Mi gente, Reggaeton Con La Gata is an iHeartMedia production, co-executive produced by Nuria Net of Shake It Easy Media. Te quiero mucho. Produced by Grace Gonzalez. Te amo. Edited by Sebastian Payan. El Duro. Music by Happy Vibes, de lo mío. And shout out to my production assistants, Kayla Eccleston and Naomi Acevedo. I'm your host, La Gata. See you next week right here on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you listen.